This is Sport Communication Coming to You, a podcast about communication in the context of sport. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Communication in Sport, a sport management course at York College of Pennsylvania. Here now is the host of this episode, student Zachary Lang.
Hello everybody, welcome to Sport Communication Coming to You, a podcast brought to you in conjunction with Communication in Sport, sport management course at York College of Pennsylvania, and 88.1 FM WVYC radio station, the voice of York College. Today's show, Social Media Here and Now. I'm your host, Zachary Lang, joined by my co-host and classmate, Haley McCormick. Haley, how are you today?
Pretty good. Glad to be here. How are you?
That's great to hear. I'm doing pretty good as well. Haley and I are sport management majors here at York College of Pennsylvania. For our class, Communication in Sport, we were assigned the task of creating our very own podcast. We are very excited to share our knowledge with you all and be with you today. Today on the show, we're going to discuss the use of social media across the world of sports, specifically that among student athletes.
Social media usage among student athletes is not by any means a new topic of research. Rather, many studies have already been conducted to examine just how collegiate athletes utilize social media outlets for their personal benefits. And looking at the findings of a 2015 survey conducted by Fieldhouse Media, Instagram was reported as being the most frequently utilized outlet, as Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter followed behind. 43% of athletes reported spending more than 1 hour using social media daily.
An article published by the Washington Times, published in April 2015, talks about a case that took place right here in York, Pennsylvania. A high school student by the name of Anthony Morgan created a Twitter account with an inappropriate name simply to make his friends laugh. While that was accomplished, college coaches who were trying to recruit Morgan were laughing so much as they were disgusted by the immaturity this prospective recruit displayed online. Although Twitter was not utilized then to the extent it is today, it cost Morgan the opportunity to play for several coaches who appreciated his talent. What he soon discovered was just how important conducting a professional image online can be.
In a study published in the International Journal of Sport Communication conducted by Blair Browning of Baylor University and Jimmy Sanderson of Clemson University, titled The Positives and Negatives of Twitter, exploring how student athletes use Twitter and respond to critical tweets, Twitter was examined from the perspective of student athletes. Strictly observing NCAA Division I athletes, the study looked at how students made use of their personal Twitters and reacted to fan responses. Interviews, much like that which we are going to conduct here today, were conducted with 20 student athletes. What was found from such a discussion was that student athletes made use of Twitter in three primary ways: keeping contact, communicating with others, and accessing information. It was also discovered that Twitter is beneficial for student athletes but also presents challenges, given how easy it is for fans to attack them online. With that, athletic departments must function to work to protect athletes.
With that, we will begin to discuss such a topic with our guests on the show. We have a diverse group of people to offer different perspectives, as we are very appreciative. They took time out of their busy schedules to be with us. We have Alexis, Hart, and Regan, both student athletes of York College women's lacrosse team, as well as Taijay, Blagrove, and Ryan Griffith, mass communications majors and fellow 88.1 FM WVYC radio station, the voice of York College, co-host. Haley, you're also a student athlete here at York as well, playing women's lacrosse. So we definitely have the right people here for the discussion topic, and we should have a lot of fun today. First off, what does your use of social media mean to you? In other words, why do you think student athletes and professional athletes use social media?
Social media, for me, is a way to express what I like to do, not just in sports, but in general. And I think athletes use social media as a way to, broadcast their sport and, get people to come out and watch their games and show that they're proud of their team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's a great place for athletes to kind of show their accomplishments, or just like Lex said, get people to come out to the games. I know on game days a lot of our teammates post game day pics, and they say come out to the field at 4, and that really brings the fans out.
Personally, we're not student athletes with NCAA. We do intramural sports though, so we also like to use social media as well. So after a big win, we were really excited, so we would post a team pic, or we would post a video of us afterwards. So it's pretty much a way for us to voice our opinions and just share our accomplishments with the greater population.
For me, I think social media, I agree with what Lex and Regan said. It's a good way to show what I'm doing both on and off the field. I think it's a good way to keep in touch, especially with my high school friends, see what they're up to.
I think with the professional athletes, it's the fan engagement part. Antonio Brown, he has to deal with Facebook Live. So, with the professional athletes, you see all the time, people, if they're coming back from an injury, if it's just off-season training workouts, they're constantly updating their social media accounts, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter. So I think it's more professional athletes. I think it's more for fan engagement and just really getting the followers and that kind of thing. So I think it's a lot of being able to put on a show, I guess. All right, let's just move into our next question. What societal impact do you think professional athletes are intending to make when they are posting on their social media accounts?
I would say they're really trying to get their personal brand out there. A lot of athletes, they want sponsorships and they want their fans to love them. So if they're posting on social media great things, if they post a picture where they're volunteering somewhere, or they're posting a picture about getting fit and getting healthy, and their fans are following them, they're going to have more of a fan following. So I think that's part of the main reason they do have social media.
It's really just a way to increase team morale. It's a way to increase your fan base as well. So
I think on the flip side of that, when something goes wrong with either a game or just a bad act in society, they're able to speak out on their social media to the fans directly, and I think that way fans think they know the behind the scenes of what went wrong or why it went wrong, and accept the athlete for who they are and realize that they're human too through their social media.
Especially with everything that's going on in politics right now and just the world in general, it's just the whole Colin Kaepernick issue. Do some of us not agree with it? Yes, but he was trying to start some type of movement to make changes for minorities in the country, so I think it's just a way to get their message out there, and that's pretty much simple as that.
For our next question, what social media platforms do you individually use?
I personally use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat.
I would say I use Snapchat the most, along with Instagram and sometimes Twitter.
I pretty much just use Facebook and Snapchat.
personally, I'm old-fashioned. I only have an email address.
I basically have all of them, but I don't really check up on them all the time. I just look in every once in a while on like Instagram to see what my friends back home posted. And I like going to Twitter for the news. I know that's not the greatest thing to go for, but I would like going like that and just look and see that real fast, and I'll probably close out of it. But that's all I really do.
How much time would you say you spend on social media a day?
I'd say definitely over an hour, maybe like 2 hours altogether.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if you're Snapchatting, you just open your phone real quick, and that might take 4 seconds, but if you're doing that continuously the whole day, that really adds up. So I would definitely say over an hour, maybe even close to 2.
Yeah, I agree with that. 1 to 2 hours.
I mean, as Taijay said before, he goes on email 24/7, but but I'd probably say around an hour.
I think it's interesting, the study that we referenced in the beginning of the podcast here, we talked about how student athletes that were interviewed spent an hour on social media every day. So that was conducted 2 years ago. So now times have changed that student athletes feel the need to be on social media to check up on their teams, to check up on other teams in their conference, in the whole league. I just find it interesting.
What kinds of things do you guys post as student athletes, and why do you post such things? You guys touched on especially on game days, posting, come out to the field. So what other kind of things do you post? Maybe not on a game day, say like during the off season.
We're usually always with our team. So, I mean, I know my Instagram pictures recently have only been with my teammates, just kind of whatever we do. If we go and do something in York, I'm with my teammates and I post that, and people that follow me know those are my teammates. So they know we're the lacrosse players. And just Snapchat too, if I'm posting Snapchat stories. I mean, my roommate's a lacrosse player and all the girls I live with are lacrosse players, so they're usually in those Snapchats.
And I feel like that too will help broadcast your team more because it shows that your team has a more family atmosphere with it, so it helps the recruiting process along because it shows that you are quote-unquote sisters with your teammate.
Yeah, so for those recruits that are following our accounts on Snapchat, on Instagram, they're seeing that we're all together all the time. So that could be something that they might want in a program.
How frequently are you posting about your athletic accomplishments, and why do you publish such posts?
It's not always as much accomplishments. It could just be a picture of you playing in the game, but people will then look at that, and then that brings attention to your team, and they might see your accomplishments. Like, you don't have to put your accomplishments right out there, but people will find them if you just post that picture.
Also, I know when we lose, we're not as likely to post pictures from that game because we don't want to draw attention to the fact that we lost. So I think the posting on Instagram at least is a little more biased because we're posting only from games we won because we want people to see, oh, it says Mary Washington on their jersey. Let me look up the stats from that game. Oh, I see York won. That kind of thing. So I think it's definitely a pride perspective as well.
How do you feel that your post as a student athlete compares to professional athletes?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's as frequent as them and as serious, but I definitely think that it's along the same lines of just broadcasting yourself and showing that you do play a sport, and here's a picture of me in my team's uniform.
Yeah, and I think it goes along with the whole personal brand thing again. Like, I don't want to post something that is going to make people look down upon my team, which is just like athletes do. They don't want you to look down upon them or their team. So the only thing I could see that would be different is a lot of times when athletes are posting, sometimes they're getting sponsored to post something, so it's more of like an advertisement, and with us it wouldn't be like that.
How might your post compare to average college students who may not be involved in college sports?
I mean, I play club lacrosse, so I might post a picture of like our game, but like I'm not really inclined to, should I say?
Yeah, I think posting on social media depends on the moment. The way Haley said, when you like take a loss, you're more inclined not to post anything because you don't want to draw attention to what like the cause was. So,
Alexis and Regan, being athletes here at college, how impactful do you feel the school's athletic social media accounts are? Do you find that they're useful for athletes?
I think they're very impactful because I know that when the girls lacrosse team may be away, I'd want to know how the boys are doing too, and then after my game I'm able to just look on Instagram and see that York College Spartans posted that they won. So it's very convenient, I think.
I agree. I think it's very impactful. I also think it's a great way of giving the student athletes pride, because I know sometimes after a game, if someone has a really good game, there'll be the picture on that post. And I think that's a great way to give student athletes motivation, because then they're getting recognized for their accomplishments.
I think along with those lines too, it encourages school spirit and it encourages you to be interested in a sport you may not know much about, but you know that your school has a team, so for that reason you're going to follow them because they're playing your rivals and you want them to beat your rivals as well. So you're just going to follow the sport, learn more about the sport, and in that way create school spirit.
How do you think social media has evolved over time in the sports world, especially in your lifetime, we'll just say 2 decades?
I would say just with the creation of all these new social medias, I know Instagram probably only came out when I was in 7th or 8th grade. So before that, I'm sure sports teams didn't use social media as much because it wasn't as easily available. Just like how technology has advanced, we didn't have cell phones to check it all the time, and we didn't have Wi-Fi everywhere we went. So it wasn't as easy to check. So now that we do have those things, we can check it all the time. You can check the score of a game anywhere, and you can check updates on anything anywhere you go. So that's definitely changed.
I also feel like there could be a negative side to it too, because it can show the bad things that teams may encounter that people may not have known about before, that coaches were able to sweep under the rug, but now everyone knows about everything so fast.
yeah, I think the way social media has evolved over the past 20 years, it's really been a marvel to look at, because now with athletes and teams, they're able to reach a greater following. For example, Real Madrid's soccer team has one of the highest payrolls in all of sports, and that's why they have such a great following with their players and with their fans, is because they're constantly posting on social media their scores. They're always posting pictures of their players, and so it's able to reach a greater demographic. And now we have people young and old now are fans of soccer, when it didn't always have great of a following in the United States. So that's why it's really good that you have social media now with athletes.
Just the whole nature of technology has astronomically changed since we've been born. So I think just the way that we have created social media, it's just amazing how we've reached that in just a short amount of time. What do you feel is the overall impact of social media on sport and society?
It brings just more attention to sport, and also I feel like it has made sport more of a global activity. Like Taijay was saying just on the last question, I don't have to turn the TV on to figure out if Madrid won the game. I could follow them on Instagram. It never used to be like that before, so I feel like it's changed and we care more about teams that are farther away from us, not just our local teams.
I think too, going off that, the recent development of Twitter Live and Facebook Live and Instagram Live, all of those live streaming sources on our own social media outlets, I think that's also had a big impact on who's viewing and who's actually watching the game, because like Regan just said, you may not want to go to your TV, but then you open up Twitter and you see right there Thursday Night Football is easily accessible. People are tweeting and communicating about the game across the country. So I think from a globalization and an international standpoint, social media has definitely impacted sport on a large scale.
Like I was saying earlier, with the whole coming out, making a society message, trying to move that message, I think that goes hand in hand. I think it just has to do with making a difference and trying to move that message and try to actually, if you see Kaepernick, everyone bashed him when he did it, but he's actually donating money towards trying to move his message. So he's really taking steps in order to make a change. I think the overall impact is just societal change in general.
Social media, it's a very powerful tool. For example, the U.S. women's national soccer team, I remember they were having a conflict with the FIFA organization about they're getting paid less than what the male teams was getting.
Yeah,
so,
even though they're a better team.
Even though they have had a better record, they brought home the trophy 2 years ago, and they're able to voice their opinions, and then they got more of a greater following, and now everyone's knocking on FIFA's door and saying, hey, the women's team is better right now than the men's team, and they should be getting compensated just as much as the males are getting. So
How closely do you monitor or control what you're seeing on your account? In other words, do you follow other accounts based on your personal interests or simply follow to follow?
What I see on my account is basically my friends and sports. And it's just the sports teams that I like, or it's the sports teams that I don't like, but I want to see how they're doing. So I'd say it's based on mostly my personal interests. I don't really just follow to follow, because then it'd be just a waste of time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I usually just follow my friends, some family members. I follow some of the York College sports pages and like fan pages, and that's about it.
I have like my friends like back home, so I can keep up with them, and then I have like highlights, so I can see all the highlights that happen. I'll go on in the morning, and I'll see all the highlights that happened last night. Yeah, that's what I do.
What may be the potential benefits to maintaining a public account, or one that anyone with an account can access as a student athlete?
I feel like you can really get your name out there, and everyone can see what you're doing, which is good and bad, but it's definitely a benefit to it because, like I said, you can just get your name out there. And
Yeah, I agree. You just have to be very careful, because if you are on a team, you're putting not only yourself on the line but also your team. So if you post something that even like anyone could find inappropriate, that may make your team look bad.
For the people that aren't playing professional sports later, I think they really have to watch, and because like it could really bring more harm.
Yeah, because you saw what happened with, what was his name last year, the offensive lineman, Laramie Tunsil. You see him like a couple days before the draft smoking, and they posted it, like just that kind of stuff. Like he was supposed to be a top 3 pick, and then he ended up going like 13th, I believe. Yeah. So it just hurts their draft stock.
The NCAA recently passed a legislation which stated beginning in August of 2016, members of a collegiate athletic department are permitted to like, favorite, retweet, tag, etc. the content of an athletic recruit. In other words, coaches can get prospective athletes' attention through social media by endorsing their personal pages. Do you feel that this might be beneficial or harmful in collegiate athletics as a whole?
I feel like that could create a lot of competition, because especially at like a Division I level, a lot of people are fighting for the same recruits. So if 2 colleges are fighting for the same recruits, like these colleges might be battling back and forth, and it might cause more harm than it would good.
Honestly, I did not hear about that, but I think it's interesting because then coaches would 100% take advantage of that. But it would be interesting to see what people would say, like, oh, maybe that guy's not that good, so that would be like maybe like a public outcry against those people. Which I mean, in case of that, that'd be pretty bad. But like, yeah, that's really interesting.
And like what Regan said about like the competition, I mean, you see it a lot more in D1 football. A lot of the Alabamas, Ohio States, Clemson's, LSU's, those kinds of big D1 teams like fighting over the same recruits. So when coaches take advantage of this rule, it goes along with the competition aspect of it.
How has your use of social media in regard to sport changed upon your transition from high school athletics to college athletics?
I feel that I've become a lot more cautious with my college athletics because I value it more than I did in high school. So I value what my coach thinks of me more, what my teammates think of me more. So I think twice before I post anything on social media, but that's just me personally.
I agree with that. And I also, in high school, I never would really post anything about athletics. Like I wouldn't really post pictures of me in a high school game or anything like that. And now that I'm in college, I feel like I have more pride because I was selected to be here. So I'm more like proud, and it makes me want to post more. I want people to know about my team and my accomplishments.
So just to wrap up here, where is there room for improvement in the use of social media in athletics as a whole? Do you feel that usage is growing with the upcoming generations?
I definitely feel that the usage is growing with the generations coming, because you look at schools now and like, even as a D3 school, we have an Instagram for every sport. There's always room for improvement in everything. I just think athletics as a whole, we just need to be smarter with what we post.
As far as the growth perspective, I think that will come with time. You can't really tell right now how that could grow, but I think with technological advancements and new social medias coming out, it's always going to continue to grow, because we go through phases with social media, and probably next year there'll be something new out that we might use to post things on. So that's how social media and sport would grow.
Basically with social media and sports, it's always growing, and we're always like trying to reach like more people. Just that sometimes people have to be more like mindful like what they're doing and the impact they can have on other people.
I think the growth of social media and sports has been good because, I mean, like, honestly, I don't hear much about people really getting in trouble anymore. People are a lot more conscious. People are a lot more aware of that things they post could really hurt them. So that's what I think is really, really good of the Grove people are really understanding that.
Well, thank you all very much for your input. What's clear through such responses is the relevance of two of the popular theories in sport communication. Social media is utilized on the basis of uses and gratifications, providing support for this uses and gratifications theory. Such a theory suggests that individuals seek out particular types of media to satisfy certain needs. For example, Regan, Alexis, and I follow the York College Women's Lacrosse Twitter and Instagram accounts because we have a desire to see what's been posted and stay up to date on news communicated strictly through this outlet. However, we don't follow York College women's field hockey on social media because although we may care about the success of the team as a whole, we're not a part of such a program and are not as dedicated as team members might be.
A second theory that is applicable and validated by our guest responses is the parasocial interaction theory. Such a theory is defined as one-sided relationships or the perceived contact with another individual who is typically one of fame. In the field of sport, this is especially obvious as suggested through athletes' use of social media. Although it may not necessarily be the case for our guests on the show, college athletes and professional athletes possess fan bases. Fans are likely to communicate with athletes feeling as if they have an established connection with them.
Social media usage is a growing component in the world of sports. Teams and organizations are continuously advancing with the trends and are seeking to reach individuals in as many ways as possible through such platforms. While social media usage for student athletes is not a bad thing, students need to be mindful of what's being put onto the internet. Although this is a concept that is continuously harped on, as evident in the case of Anthony Morgan 2 years ago, it is not always taken seriously.
Social media has the potential to damage an individual's career. Although it is entertaining and powerful in nature, users of all ages are becoming more advanced in their knowledge. With this, social media is no longer just for teenagers to see, but for the world to see as well. We're just going to wrap up the show with going around and doing it. Kind of connects with the whole social media. Everyone's going to say a hashtag of what their biggest takeaway was today.
Mine would have to be the hashtag be smart.
Hashtag influential.
Hashtag stay connected.
Hashtag stay social.
Hashtag responsibility.
Hashtag know who your fans are. Thank you all for joining us today on this episode of Sport Communication Coming to You.